Welcome to the AAAA in Sydney. Almost 20 million Pakistanis, that's almost equivalent to the entire population of Australia, have lost their homes in the devastating floods. Now, as the floodwaters recede, a new problem has emerged, as Pakistan's Consul General told me after he addressed the Institute at the Glover Cottages earlier this month.
Well, this unfortunately is a situation that Pakistan is going to be dealing with for a number of years to come. The floodwaters have started receding in certain areas in the northern parts of the country, but in certain areas the water is still 8 to 10 feet deep. And the humanitarian crisis, the disaster is actually getting worse for the people who have been displaced by these floods, because now they are homeless. They are living under the open sky. At best, they are in tents where they are completely dependent upon the government for the provision of water, medicines, and food. And tragically, we have reports that around the country, the death toll is mounting. We have had reports of in excess of 100 children who have lost their lives due to the absence of clean drinking water. And some of them have also been diagnosed as having died of starvation. So the humanitarian crisis persists. And in the second phase of our dealing with this disaster, I'm afraid that the main battle is with hunger and with disease, where the government of Pakistan has to try and keep these people alive until the waters recede, and the important work of getting them back to their homes and of rebuilding shattered lives.
What does Pakistan need? Obviously money, but what else? What else?
We need a lot of help. We need trained medical teams to come and assist the government with the relief work. We need inflow of medicines. We need water purification plants and water purification tablets. We need skilled medics and trained emergency workers to come and, in conjunction with the Pakistan government, be deployed at the various innumerable locations where huddles of human beings are camped out, desperately in need of help and assistance.
Pakistan is obviously an agricultural country. Where does this leave the food supply for the months and years ahead?
Pakistan is one of the most populous nations on earth. With 181 million people, we are the 6th largest nation on earth. And 70% of those people work in the agricultural field. So that means that fully 125 million people in Pakistan were living in these very areas which have been devastated by these floods. 20 million people displaced. All of them were agricultural workers. 25% of our livestock, 25% of our standing crops, almost 80% of our food stores, they have been wiped out in 2 weeks of these floods. So food insecurity is something which is going to assume a very crucial dimension in the months to come. Because if we miss this wheat plantation season due to waterlogged fields, the next year's crop will be disastrous. Yet we will have these millions of people who will have lost everything that they owned, looking to the government for food. 80% of Pakistan's animals are owned by these very people who have been displaced. The average farmer in Pakistan owns between 1 and 4 animals. Those chicken, those cows, those sheep, they have now been killed by the floods. So the eggs with which they used to support their family, the milk with which they were nourishing their children, that is no longer available to them. Even if they do go back to their homes, or what is little is left of their homes, where is the cattle with which to provide sustenance? So food insecurity is going to be one of the biggest challenges for the government of Pakistan in the year to come.
And how is the government in Islamabad facing up to the challenge?
Well, we have obviously already started thinking of how to grapple with this enormous situation. The first step that we are taking in conjunction with the FAO, the Rome-based Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, is that we are going to distribute free seed to all of those people once they go back to their homes. The second policy the government has come out with is that doing the best that we can despite our meager resources, we are going to be distributing approximately $300 per family. That alone is going to cost us millions and millions of rupees. But again, it is a step that this democratic government has to take in response to the plight of its people. Because people who today only have the clothes on their back, their furniture is gone, their children's books are gone, the clothes that they had are gone, the shoes, the cutlery, the crockery, the very roofs over their heads have been shattered and swept away by these floods. So they are virtually left with nothing. And in such a situation, the state has to step in and assist them.
What has been the response of people here in Australia?
I think Australia was one of the first countries to respond very, very quickly to Pakistan's floods. The initial allocation of $11 million which was made was more than tripled up to a total of $35 million by the federal government very, very quickly in response to the situation that they saw on the ground. But what I have been touched by, what has really moved me, is the response of the ordinary Australian citizen. Pakistan and Australia are geographically quite distant from each other. We do not have any great or deeply rooted trade ties or social ties between our two countries and people. Yet the number of emails that I receive, the number of letters that I receive, and the response that I know has come from the Australian people, the ordinary citizen who have contributed to UNICEF, who have contributed to the Red Cross, who have responded to ABC's national appeal. It is touching and it is moving.
Pakistan's Consul General talking to me there just before heading off to the Northern Beaches suburb of DY, where he was invited by a Christian church there to address them after a charity concert designed to raise money for the Pakistan flood victims. Thanks for joining me. Bye for now.